Dubs Talk podcast featuring Steph Curry with Kendra Andrews and Grant Liffman. And, you know, Draymond Green, you saw him sipping wine with Steph Curry celebrating his accomplishment, becoming the all-time leading scorer in Golden State Warriors history. Well, here at NBC Sports Bay Area, the staff and I are celebrating you two guys, former NBA players. Now, this bottle of wine didn't cost $4,000. Matter of fact, it costs less than $3. We call it $3 Chuck here. 3 wishes. Some Merlot for Chris Mo and Darrell Wright. So if you had any wishes there with that bottle of wine, you talk about dreams come true with those bed sheets, Darrell. Got 3 wishes there, man. And you can spice things up with that, baby.
I'm definitely spicing things up. Is this the wine I could have my pinky out? Because I know that wine they was drinking, I'm pretty sure they had the pinky out.
That means $2.99, D, right? I mean,
come on,
it's
man.
more expensive to park in the city than that wine.
Might knock you out.
Yeah, the wrong way here.
Pack of headaches.
Yeah, you popped the Tylenol there with that one. Let's take a look at the Western Conference standings as we see the Warriors here. A game behind the San Antonio Spurs. And you see Memphis right there, 12.5, 8 seed, 12.5 behind the first place Utah Jazz. We're looking at the play-in tournament where the Warriors are in the battle. Pelicans a game behind the Golden State Warriors here. Let's hear from Draymond Green on the play-in tournament.
How much are you guys watching the standings and kind of monitoring everything that's going on with this play-in tournament over these next 18 games?
I saw that Luka don't like it, and I saw that Mark Cuban don't like it. That's about as much attention as I've paid to the standings for the playing game.
All right, Billy, you talked about being excited now for the play-in tournament. We know a week ago, you were like, play out, man. Play in, play out, play out. What has piqued your interest in the play-in tournament now?
Well, I think the comments that Draymond was referring to from Mark Cuban and Luka Doncic, I think there's a little worry there. And all of a sudden, I'm pretty excited after seeing last game, the Warriors take down the Denver Nuggets, one of the favorites in the Western Conference. All of a sudden, I don't see a team that they could not give a really big-time struggle to in the playoffs, whether it be one of the LA teams, Utah, Phoenix. I think all those teams would be really worried about playing a small ball lineup with Steph Curry leading the way.
Oh, especially the Dallas Mavericks. They got to play the Warriors. We saw the Warriors drop 147 on them earlier this season. Should the Mavericks and teams like the Denver Nuggets be fearing to go to State Warriors?
Yes, they should. You know, with Steph Curry playing like this, and I know you love to say it, he's on a heater.
He's on a heater.
I would definitely be scared to play them. But, you know, those guys should have took care of business early on, and they wouldn't be in this situation. So, like Mully said, these guys are getting a little nervous when they see these Golden State Warriors getting a little bit better.
So the sour grapes from the Dallas Mavericks, though. I mean, because they're fearing. I mean, why come out and say it now?
Well, also, they saw that 2-game series they played in Dallas. That was a tough 2 games that they had. You know, they split the series, their baseball series. But I totally changed my mind because, look, it's not going to change this season. I'm against it in general, but it's not going to change. So in the meantime, stay in the moment. Use this as motivation. And another thing I'm excited about, the Warriors, the more they extend this season, get into the playoffs, we got fans coming back to chase. So all of a sudden, whether it be Dallas or someone's rolling in, they lose a game at their home court, and they're coming back to the Chase Center with fans. We might have to be flying Nelly and Stack, Jack and Barron. And get it popping over there.
Darrell, you were at Chase for the first time Monday night. Talk about that arena, and they had the crowd noise in it. It felt like the fans were at the stadium, even though they weren't.
Yeah, it was a great time. The energy that I was feeling just walking in there, and it wasn't many people in there but family and friends. Couldn't imagine with fans being there. How I was feeling, I wanted to play. I almost called Eric Housen like, man, dust off that jersey, man. I got like 10 minutes in me. But I definitely think if the fans are back in there, the atmosphere is going to completely change in the playoff setting.
Yeah, fans will be back April 23rd, and we'll talk to the man who's going to be excited about that, the new COO of the Golden State Warriors, Brandon Schneider. He'll join us coming up here on Warriors Pregame Live as we see Andrew Wiggins having a little smile. New Chief Operating Officer replacing the legend Rick Welts, and Brandon, who is in his 19th season with the Golden State Warriors, of course, replacing Rick Welts. And man, this is a big time accomplishment for Brandon Schneider, who's a lifelong Warriors fan. He's been working with the Warriors for 19 years. So Brandon, welcome to Warriors Pregame Live. Chris Mullin, Darrell Wright, and Bonte Hill. And when you got the news that you were getting promoted to replace Rick Welts, tell us what that was like when you got the phone call from Joe Lacob and Peter Guber.
Unbelievable. So first of all, thank you very much for having me on. As you said, lifelong Warriors fan. But when Joe called me, it was last Wednesday morning. I was on another call, so I missed it. Called him back right away. He said, "Hey, I got to conference somebody in." Peter Guber comes on, and they said, "Look, we've gone through the process, and we want to offer you the job to be the next president and COO of the Warriors." And it's pretty hard to make me speechless, but I think they succeeded. So it was unbelievable. We talked for a while, and obviously I've had a lot of conversations since then. But it's a dream come true. Like you said, I've been with the Warriors for 19 years. Started out in ticket sales, making cold calls when I was 22, 23 years old. So to get to this point, it's humbling and exciting.
Brandon, it's Chris Mullin. Congratulations. So happy for you. You've got tremendous experience. You've seen so many changes over the 19 years that you've been working for the Warriors. And replacing Rick Welts now, an icon, not only with the Warriors, but within the league offices. What are some of the things you've learned from Rick and some of the things you'll try to add and put your own stamp on the Warriors as you move forward?
It's a good question, Mully. Thanks for that. And by the way, before I answer your question, I just wanted to say, I was at the game on Monday watching Steph break Wilt's record. And watching the video, that you did post game was unbelievable, heartfelt. And you talked about Steph's class, character, humility. And I grew up in the Bay Area, a big Warriors fan. Tim Roy asked me on the radio yesterday who my favorite Warriors were, and I named you and Tim Hardaway. Were two of the guys that I was watching as a kid growing up. So I just wanted to tell you that. In terms of Rick Welts, I'm talking about one legend to another. Learning from Rick every day. I learned everything from him. So you talk about the humility. This guy had Hall of Fame credentials before he came to the Warriors, and then we all know what's happened over the last 10 years, winning Sports Team of the Decade, Sports Team of the Year twice. No other team's done that. So I think he was a Hall of Famer before he came to the Warriors, and then if you look at just what he did with the Warriors, that's probably a Hall of Fame career as well. So I honestly watch every single thing that he does. The way he interacts with the NBA. He worked at the league office for 17 years, was a right-hand person for David Stern, knew Adam Silver really early in his career. So, we work collaboratively with the league on a lot of things. So learning how to navigate that, understanding, hiring the best people and letting them do their jobs. Ultimately Rick's accountable, right? For everything that happens on the business side of the organization, but that doesn't mean he understands if he has to do everything, he's one person. So empowering all of us and enabling all of us to do our jobs, even though he knows ultimately it's going to come down on him, if it doesn't go right, is amazing. For a long time, we wanted our stated goal all along was to make Chase Center the safest venue in the country. I think it's been well documented. Joe Lacob has a master's degree in epidemiology. So we were on this early last April with a task force meeting every week, multiple times a week, to think about how do we differentiate ourselves in making this as safe as possible. We talked about testing early. So we're really excited to get to welcome fans back to Chase Center. Our fans are chomping at the bit. We've been hearing this from them for the last couple months in particular. I heard you guys in the last segment talking about the home court advantage as we come down the stretch. You've heard Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and our players talk about how much they miss fans and how it makes a difference in some of the road venues where you have seen fans already. So we're excited for that. We're excited. Every fan that walks into Chase Center will be either vaccinated or 2 weeks after their final shot, or we'll have a negative COVID test within 48 hours of the game. So it'll be, we'll still have social distancing and we'll have masks and everything will be, it's clean, the airflow, we could go on and on. I'll let Kim Stone can speak more eloquently to those things, our general manager of Chase Center. But it'll be safe and the energy is going to be unbelievable. It'll be an emotional night on April 23rd. We can't wait.
Brandon, we got to run here, but I just want you to think about this and keep this in the back of your mind. Rick Welch came up with the All-Star Saturday, helped market the Dream Team in '92. You got to think about coming up with something here. Maybe a 4-point line 5 years down the line, and red, white basketball, red, white, blue basketball. Think about that with Brandon. But congratulations in the meantime, man. This is big for you. Congrats on being promoted to president and CEO of the Golden State Warriors.
No pressure. Thank you, Bonte, Chris, Darrell. Appreciate you guys.
Congratulations, Brandon.
Congratulations, man. As it's time to find your edge, presented by Atlantis Casino Resort Spa in Reno. Warriors tonight, Mully and Darrell, 10.5-point favorites. The last time they were double-digit favorites was back on February 15th against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They won that game by 31 points. And the under has hit almost 64% of the time in Golden State's last 47 road games. For more information like this, go to NBCSportsEdge.com to try to win yourself some free money. Let's hear from Steve Kerr on tonight's action against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
There's a reason we haven't won more than 3 games in a row all season. We just haven't been able to find that groove. I have been saying to you guys over recent weeks that I think that's coming, and I still believe that. I thought last game, to beat a really good Denver team, one of the very best teams in the league, I thought we showed a connection together at both ends. I thought we played with a lot of force, but also a lot of mindfulness. I thought we were really sharp. Now, Steph's not going to get 53 every night. Draymond's not going to go 7 for 8 every night. So it's going to take more of everything, to maintain that level of play. But I do like kind of what I'm seeing here, and I like where we're heading.
It's time to move some things over here on Pregame Live, featuring Chris Mullin. And Mully, what are you mulling over tonight?
What makes this guy, Steph Curry, so special? He can play with the ball. He can play without the basketball. He can put up 53. He can pass Will Chamberlain on the all-time scoring list. He can take this Golden State Warriors on a long-time run and have some May Madness in the play-in tournament. But here we go against the Rockets, come up on the side of the floor here, simple side pick and roll. He's going to see double teams, try and get into the paint here. He draws all the attention, give it up and get it back. Darrell, a defensive nightmare. You finally get the ball out of the guy's hands and you let him get it back for a wide open 3.
And this is why coaches always tell their players, don't leave the shooter. And right here, another time they double team him, gets it out of his hand early, JTA, and then what does John Wall do? They start ball watching. Steph Curry continues to cut, easy lay.
And Steph doesn't stand still. He gives it up, where he's ultra dangerous with the basketball, but when he gives it up, he becomes more dangerous. Here's just, I'll have this dance. Watch this ball movement. What is going on here? The Denver Nuggets, they're supposed to be top of the West. No one's looking at Steph Curry, 5 guys. After giving it up, he winds up with a wide open 3. That's as much bad defense as it is the brilliance of Steph Curry. Dangerous with or without the basketball. The sidestep 3. He makes it look easy. That's an incredibly difficult shot. But this is what he's done all season long, which has really made this season, to me, one of his greatest seasons of all time, is the defenses that he's facing each and every night. He starts the game off, doesn't know how they're going to play him. He adjusts his game to that. The Milwaukee game, He had 11 at half. Yeah. He was trying to figure out what was going on. As he was getting his teammates involved, in the second half he goes for 30. I mean, it's just been amazing. Obviously, passing Wilt Chamberlain, an incredible milestone. But each and every night he steps on the court, we're seeing greatness.
Darrell, what's your coaches do to defend Steph Curry? Are they doubling too high here at Steph Curry? Should they not double at half court?
I think they forget who they're guarding. You see those guys start ball watching. If you're guarding one of the best players in the world, you want to deny him and don't let him get the ball. That's how you do when you double. Don't let him get the ball back.
Well, a lot of people say, well, just get the ball out of his hands. Right. That sounds easy. They do that, but they let him get it back. And that's a defensive mistake, but also it's the greatness of Steph Curry, where his fitness level, he can still play without the basketball, keep moving, and get himself open later in the shot clock.
How do you forget about Stephen Curry? He's only won 2 MVPs, believe me, right? He's only got the 3-point record, and he's coming for Ray Allen. We'll talk about Draymond coming up here on Warriors Pregame Live.
Warriors Pregame Live is presented by Comcast Business.
Maybe we'll see him Saturday night in Boston. And Loon coming off a season high 31 minutes. He'll man the 5 spot there for the Warriors as we bring in Monty Poole in just a second. His article earlier today, Steph, Clay, and Draymond are a unique core in today's NBA. So let's go to our Warriors insider here at NBC Sports Bay Area, powered by Cisco WebEx, Monty Poole. Welcome to Warriors Pregame Live. Good evening, brother. And we've seen some great trails in NBA history. You know, Bird, Parrish, McHale. We've seen Magic, Kareem, and Worthy. What makes this trio of Draymond, Clay, and Steph so unique?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, you know, in today's NBA, guys don't get to hang around their teammates that long. Usually guys are coming and going. Guys are playing for 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 teams over the course of their career. You saw that with LeBron, and you saw that with a bunch of teams recent vintage. I mean, going back to Kobe and Shaq. And so the one team that's been able to buck that trend was the Spurs when they had Duncan and Ginobili and Tony Parker for all those years. Well, the Warriors are kind of taking a page from that book. I mean, these guys have been teammates for 9 years, by far the longest trio of guys on the same team in the NBA right now. So you look at that, you look at their accomplishments, and so you begin to realize that, A, it takes an ownership group that's committed to keeping those guys together. And B, it takes those 3 guys wanting to be together, because sometimes it doesn't always happen. It's like one guy or another guy decides he wants out. He wants to do his own thing. He wants to do this. He wants to do that. And you see that throughout the league, especially these days. But these guys, they're committed. And like Draymond said this morning, you know, if you can't like Clay and you can't like Steph, then the problem is you. So they all get along. They're not all alike, but they all get along and they know how to play.
Monty, big news for the Warriors last weekend was James Wiseman turned a meniscus in his right knee. He's going to have surgery tomorrow in L.A. What is the latest you've heard about the surgery coming up for James Wiseman? Can we expect a timetable shortly after the surgery?
Yeah, that's based on what Steve Kerr said before the game. Basically, that James is going to have a surgery tomorrow in L.A. And after the surgery, they will be able to determine whether he's going to be out 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or longer. But going into it, they don't know. If you're the Warriors, though, you have to think that he won't be back. And then if he is back, you make that adjustment. You realize you got more depth than you thought you had. But at this point, it's all just kind of hoping and guessing. So the postseason starts in about 4.5, 5 weeks. So if Wiseman is back in time for the postseason and the Warriors are there, he could conceivably be a contributor at that point. But at this point, it's just too hard to really sort of predict that. You got to assume that as of now that he won't be back. And then if you get news later that says, okay, he can be back sometime in mid-May, you go with that.
All right, let's hope for the best for James Wiseman. You hate to see him out longer than the 4 to 6 weeks because it could compromise his summer activity, his off-season work. Monty, thanks so much. Enjoy tonight's ball game as the Warriors start off on this 5-game road trip. And it's tonight in OKC, a back-to-back against Cleveland tomorrow. Cleveland's playing right now. Then it gets tougher. Boston, Philly. Then they'll play the Wizards again next Wednesday night to wrap up this road trip. So, Darrell, looking at this 5-game road trip, how important is it for the Warriors to come back home with at least a 3-2 record?
I think it's super important. There's some winnable games out there. They continue to stay locked in how they are and go out there and play at a high level, and Steph Curry continues to stay on his heater. I think they have a great chance of coming back, maybe even 4-1. I'll say that.
Ooh.
Maybe even 4-1. They might surprise somebody out there playing that small ball.
It's so important to stay focused on the task at hand. So tonight's, you got to stick to your game plan, stick to the details of the game and the scouting report, and worry about one game at a time. Philly and Boston, they're the 2 toughest teams, obviously. They owe a game back to Washington. 3-2 would be acceptable. 4-1 would be a big-time accomplishment.
That would be huge. Jarrell did call Steph Curry surpassing Will Chamberlain Monday in the first quarter, Bully. He predicted that. He guaranteed it.
Well, Steph Curry, I mean, you can make these outrageous predictions, and he makes them come true.
Right.
That's how incredible he is.
I know, right? I thought Jarrell was a little tipsy or something. Well, that's like,
Might have been, but Steph bailed him out.
Appreciate it, Steph. Thank you.
He hit that $3 bottle of wine, man.
Yeah,